I've had quite a few conversations this week and last week, and if there's something that a lot of us are struggling with, it is really getting to do what we really love and to do it in a place that is really, really awesome, and just making sure that everything aligns. And that is easier said than done. But this morning, I'm going to talk to a very special guest who have done exactly that, figured out what it is that she's all about, and she's aligned that with business and a whole host of other things. And really excited to talk to her this morning. So stick around. This morning's episode is going to be hot, seeing that it's so cold this morning. So let's do it. This is Propulsion, the podcast for forward-thinking and driven and ambitious financial planning professionals. It is the catalyst to the exponential growth of your financial planning practice, your business, or your franchise. This is where professionals come in order to learn about the latest technology, to learn about best practice when it comes to running and managing their business, as well as marketing, sales, relationship building, the best and most valuable interviews with local and international guests, and a whole host of other things. Without any further ado, here is your host, Francois de Toit. Good morning, Marguerite. A warm welcome to Propulsion Live.
Thank you so much, Francois. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while, eh? Because the first time I sort of asked you, you said no. It was a long time ago, and you said you were busy with other things, and I took a second chance, and this time you said yes. So I'm very happy to have you on the show. And we had a bit of a catch up like a month or month and a half ago to just talk about what would we talk about today, and I was like so excited, and that excitement has not worn off. So warm welcome, really awesome to have you.
Yes, thank you. And you're a clear example that persistence pays off.
Yes, yeah, I know Ricky Ven. Marguerite, just before we get started, because obviously I want to delve into your journey today, because you have taken a lot of the things that we guide other people on, be it your clients or that I guide advisors on, or that, I mean, you guys also train advisors, etc. But like we guide people to do this, but then often, and when I was setting up sort of the description for today, I was looking for a proper sort of analogy or an idiom or something that I could use, a metaphor for this. But often we don't do those things ourselves because we're too busy telling others what to do, and we don't follow those things. But you did the exact opposite. You actually took these things to heart, and you employed this in your journey. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about financial coaching a little bit, and I do want to talk also about how do you grow your business through collaboration and merging. So an exciting morning ahead. But before I start, just give us a little bit about who Marguerite is, where you work, and just so that we can sort of get a sense before we get started.
Okay. I'm co-creator at My Journey to Freedom. I'm partnering with Mary J. Fourie. And if you've been around in the financial services ecosystem for a while, you would have seen her posts. She's quite outspoken, sharing what she believes. And that is one of the ways in which we actually connected, because I was attending FBI CPD session online, and this little side panel of comments came up, and she wrote something in response to somebody's question. And I was like sitting there and thinking, wow, there's somebody out there speaking the same language as I do. And we connected, and from there started collaborating and built our business, which she has already laid the foundation for very solidly. So before that, I've been a fee-based financial planner since 2004. And before that, I started out helping my dad in his practice. So I was very privileged in the sense that I from the outset had exposure to financial planning more as a profession than as a sales environment. Although I did some of the training at one of the big product providers initially. So I had some insight in how it worked from that angle. And I went back to my dad's office and I looked at what he was doing, and there was a huge disconnect actually. And I said, I want to do what you're doing. And he said to me, well, then you need to study further. And that's when I did my postgrad diplomas in financial planning. Fast forward, when I started my own practice with a fee-based focus, I was quite ambitious at that stage. And then life happened. I got married, I had kids, and my business got shifted to the back burner. So Francois, when you say that I've done the exact opposite, actually I haven't. I've actually gone through the journey of shifting my focus, my ambition to my family. And only later, when COVID hit, I felt now was the opportunity to resurrect that long lost dream of doing coaching as well. And I started studying again. And here we are 3 years later.
Fantastic. Look, I mean, like everybody somewhere sort of does what everyone else is doing, right? But I think then as you become aware of there must be, because I think, I mean, was it also for you, and it's very interesting that you say there was a big disconnect between what your dad was doing in his practice and what you were doing or what you wanted to do, and that you had that inkling from quite early on. And sometimes I think what happens is that we don't know what that is, but we know there's something. And that's sort of the thing that we then go down a road to go on journey. But then life happens, as you said, you have kids, you have a family, and that does take a lot of time. And I think what often happens also is that we tend to put things so far on the back burner that we postpone almost that feels like an eternity before we say, okay, now's the time. And it just makes it difficult at some point because you've got all these responsibilities, you've got all these things that you need to take care of. And but still, I don't think any of those things takes away that little thing inside of you and me that goes like, no, I want to do this. Oh, there's another way. There's a better way. There's like, I like this, but I need to be not need to be different, but I want to do it differently. I mean, is that sort of the same that you felt all this time, even though your focus shifted away?
Yes, I can definitely agree with that, Francois. I think there was, when I started out with my own business, I was very lucky that somebody was willing to coach and mentor me. And when I was exposed to coaching, I thought, wow, this is something I really want to do. But you're in that startup phase of your own business. There's just so much going on that it kind of gets deferred a little bit. And then it gets deferred again. And as I said, life happens and it gets deferred even further. So, but the dream has always been there to focus more on coaching. And when COVID happened, before COVID started happening, I was already busy planning, rebranding, rethinking my business strategy, my value proposition, what I was doing. And I kept on coming back to, I will have to go and upskill myself. There's definitely scope here for more learning, ongoing training. And so I started talking to people. Hendrik Crawford was one of the people that very kindly made some time to speak to me. Then he invited me into a group that he had of coaching circle. And from there, at that stage, they were piloting a short certificate course in financial coaching, which I attended. And that formed the foundation of what I did later on.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think I was very fortunate yesterday to actually have a catch up with Hendrik as well. And he touches so many lives and gets so many people because he is so passionate also about this. And I think as you get more and more people together that's really passionate about coaching specifically, then things start to happen and the movement starts to form and things start to move in a direction. And again, like coaching is not for everybody. It's amazing how coaching speaks to some people that this is the thing. This is my passion. This is what I want to do. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, another Marguerite, same thing. It's the same kind of conversation where that's where it's at. And how do we get more financial advisors to sort of look at this coaching aspect, which is something we'll chat about a little bit later. I just want to stand still very quickly. Like, I think if I heard now, like 2004, you said you started like a fee-based practice. Was that right? 2004.
That's right. Yeah.
And please share a little bit about that journey, because even now, like a week ago in the best practice huddle, we had people asking, like they researching, they want to do this. So you've started doing this. Like, I mean, what was that journey like for you way back in 2004?
Okay, so as I said, I did some training in the product providers, mission driven, and I walked out of there and I thought, is this what I really want to do? And then I went back to my dad and I looked at the work he was doing, and he was always very planning orientated. He was one of the early members of ILPA, which later became the FBI. So I was very, very lucky that I was already in that environment where planning was a thing. And then when I started seeing my first clients and I did planning for them, they looked at this and they said to me, "But you should charge a fee for this," which actually opened the door for me to, or gave me the confidence to start looking at fee-based models. And once again, I couldn't have done it. I think we always stand on the shoulders of giants. I reached out to some people in the industry. You might know Greg Snedden. He introduced me to a group of guys who were at that stage busy trying to work on a fee-based model. And it's within that group that I managed to put together a framework for my business and started working from there. And the truth of the matter is, I've found that there was quite a bit of resistance because clients have been used to financial planning being free all their lives, but with the product thing attached, and the whole idea but that you need to sell a product in order to pay your bills. So eventually what I ended up with was a hybrid model with fee-based planning work and then an AUM model for longer-term relationships with clients. And it wasn't quite where I wanted to be. I wanted to do flat fee-based. I didn't want to have this hybrid model, and I didn't know how to shift.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, right? Because it's almost like, well, one, we need to stop doing things for free, and we need to start defining the value and quantifying the value and all of that and putting a price to it. But our biggest challenge, and it's not just a challenge in South Africa, I think it's all over the world in different sort of ways and maybe at different scales. But how people then pay for that advice is a totally different issue, actually. And if you hear like most people who's got a fee-based practice, there's very few fee-only planners, but the fee-based guys mostly do AUM. And this sort of, I want to come back to this when we talk about the coaching, because I think that's also one of the challenges with paying for coaching, is how does that business model work? Because that's also hard. It's this fantastic thing. You've all seen the impact it has, but clients don't always see that. And I want to chat a little bit about that, because I think there's a bit of a link, in my opinion, between fee-based and coaching. But we'll get to that. Did you then at that point sort of give up on the idea about being fee-based, or is that still the model that you follow today?
No, my Mary's model is we want to be fully fee-based. So I still have some legacy clients with AUM background that I brought across to my journey to freedom. But we do, our focus is to be flat fee-based and retainer-based going forward.
Yeah. And I assume there's progress there. That are people becoming more and more willing to enter into those kind of agreements?
Yes, definitely. I think especially the younger generation actually expects to pay for the service they get.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting.
Conversations are definitely a lot easier nowadays than what I found in my early stages of my business.
Why do you think that is? Do you have an idea of what the reason is why, let's call them then the younger or newer generation, why they're more open to paying for this? Is it just because they never dealt with someone before, so they don't know about the free F&A and the free this and the free that? Or what? Do they just have a different mindset about it?
I think it also has to do with the fact that there's a lot more information out there. In 2004, social media hardly existed. I don't think it really existed. Facebook started coming in a little bit later. There's a lot more information. Clients are becoming aware that free isn't really free. There's always strings attached. And when people want independent guidance and they want they want client-centric, client-focused guidance and advice, then they don't want it to be entangled with a product because they don't necessarily need the product.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter, I believe, is that if they're willing to pay for the guidance and the advice and all of that, that means that you can focus on the fundamentals first. Whereas if your business works on, I've got to implement something to get paid for this work, that's where the focus is just naturally going to be. It's not very often that someone would do work that would not lead to any kind of other business. I think if that happens, it's really rare. It's definitely not. It's an exception and not the rule. But I mean, it's amazing to sort of hear that is happening. And I mean, let's fast forward a little bit onto. So thanks for sharing that, by the way. Like, my mind is racing and I'm thinking about a million questions I want to ask you, but I'm also conscious of time. So you then got to a point where you wanted to get into coaching. You knew that this was for you. You sort of saw this comment from Mary J, and you sort of connected with her, and then you decided to merge. Is that right? Or to start join this. So tell me a little bit about that decision and sort of why both of you probably decided it's a good idea.
Okay. So as I said earlier on, I was busy relooking my entire brand, etc. Because up to then, I've been maintaining a very, very low profile in the financial services industry. I was looking at what my value proposition would be, what a website would have to look like, etc., etc. And then I saw Mary's comment, and we started talking. And I went and I looked at her website, and I realized, but she's speaking the same language I do. She's got the same focus and orientation and values and beliefs around what this business should be doing for clients. And she's got an established brand already. So it actually just made sense, instead of me redesigning the wheel on my own side, to start talking collaboration and eventually merging. So when what we did was a very slow, we created a long runway for ourselves in terms of getting to know each other, collaborating on things, brainstorming ideas of each other. She launched a coach training program and invited me onto that. So that was a follow-on from the certificate that I did with the University of Free State in Hendrik. And then we started talking about what would it look like if we were to merge our businesses? What would the impact be on my journey to freedom and its fee-based, flat fee only orientation, bringing along legacy clients with some AUM, because not all my clients would be amenable to the idea of switching to flat fee completely and a retainer model. They're happy with the way things have been working for them. So we had all those conversations. We spent a lot of time talking around the values of the business, and I can't emphasize this enough, Francois. It took time. As I said, it took time, it took intention, it took focus. But having laid that foundation, it kind of creates a filter through which you view future decisions, and it makes subsequent decisions around the business and where the business is going so much easier if you have a solid understanding of who you are, what it is that you want to do for your clients, who you want your ideal client to be. It cuts out a whole lot of noise that we would otherwise have to bring into our decision-making processes.
And my question is, so I want to delve a little bit into what that process looked like, etc. But just before I do, just tell me, like, why did you decide to do it with someone and not go and do your own thing? Like, what made you say, like, oh, I need to, not need to, but I want to do it with somebody like Mary J, for example? Like, why in a partnership and not just do your own thing? Like, what was that decision sort of process and thought process for you?
Okay. Well, one of our values in our business is collaboration. And it's one of my personal values. It's one of Mary's personal values. And it is the realization that when I sit here in my own office, doing my own thing, thinking my own thoughts in my head, I kind of become an echo chamber of myself. Whereas when I share ideas with other people, when I talk to other people, when we co-create something, what is eventually born is just so much bigger and more beautiful than what it is that I could create on my own. I believe we were created for community, Francois. That thing of no man is an island sounds very true to me, because we we're not meant to be isolated and siloed. When we co-create, when we reach out to other people, even if their way of doing business is completely different from our own, there's a synergy that happens. There's new ideas get born that would otherwise not have happened. And I think there's incredible beauty in that.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing is like, I mean, you really know yourself and you understand what is important to you. You understand, like, you know, how you want to do things. So, I mean, was it always like that, or did you actually do a lot of work to get to know and understand what you value and, you know, what's important to you and what you stand for, basically, you know, those kind of things? Is that a journey that you went on, or was it just something you always knew?
It's a journey, Francois. We grow, we mature, I think reflective practice is part of my life. I have a regular quiet time, and during that time, things come up, ideas come up, realizations come up. So, but it's definitely a growth journey, and embarking on formal coaching training forms part of that journey, because there's a lot of reflection, a lot of deep work that you need to do in yourself. So yes, it's not for sissies, because sometimes we're confronted with stuff within ourselves that require us to take a hard look at, what have I been thinking? What have I been believing? What are the lenses that I use to view the world? And how does that impact my decision-making, my relationships, my whole way of being? So it's a combination of things. It's time. It is making the time to become quiet and reflective and looking inside. And it is also formal training.
Yeah. And has there ever been a time where people did not see what you were seeing, like that were not supportive of what you were trying to do, where you felt like you were on your own, or have you been fortunate to always have the support of everyone in your circle?
Oh, that's a hard question, because I have deliberately been flying under the radar. I didn't come up to a lot of opposition when I started out, and as I said initially, I was very lucky to have found a group of people who were on the same journey. So I am aware that there's a large part of the financial services ecosystem that doesn't think about planning and coaching the way we do, or that are not people are not entirely convinced of how to do it, how to turn it into a profitable business. And I think that's part of the learning journey for us as well, is how do we take this idea and really grow it into a business that flies, that's not just, we're not just muddling along and getting from day to day and month to month, but we really can grow and expand and bring other people on board. So opposition, as I said, I'm aware, but I haven't really had to deal with that conflict to a large extent, and that's because I've been maintaining a low profile.
Yeah. Well, I've got a good friend who also maintains a low profile, but he does very well. So the question then is, like, we spoke about what is important to you and figuring out it's a journey. You know what's important to you, like collaboration is one of the values. It's a personal value as well as a business value. So let's talk a little bit about a values-led business, because like everybody, look, I've worked for places where you go there and there is like, yes, our values on the wall, and it's all integrity, transparency, blah, blah, blah. But you're really taking this to heart, and you've aligned your personal values and the business's values. And what does that then look like in practice? I think you mentioned earlier a little bit about it becomes a filter through which you make future decisions. It makes it so much easier. But what does it mean if you're really a values-led business?
It does entail reflection, Francois. It means that we do block out time in our week. Mary and I've got a weekly strat meeting. We block out time in our week during which we look at our actions of the past week, what we're planning on working towards the next week, and how does that actually fit with our stated values. because I think in our case, our values have become so much, or are so much an expression of who we are as people, that from that perspective, it is reasonably easy to always keep them top of mind. But we've got them documented. They in our client documentation, when we explain who we are, what we're about, they're all there, and what we mean by using those words of collaboration and responsibility and all those kind of things. So we have ongoing reminders in the documentation that we use, and as I say, it's part of our beings. And then when we do our weekly strat meetings, as I said, it's become a filter through which we look at decision making. And we remind ourselves, if one of us bring an idea to the table and we're not sure about it, then we measure it and weigh it against that list of values and say, how does it fit in? Does it fit in?
And then how do you deal with that? So I mean, obviously, let's just say that I'm trying to get a little bit into the mechanics of being in business together with people, and then there's different personalities. Yes, we're all on the same page, and we have these values to help guide us. Does it make the conversation easier if one of you feels it is aligned and one feels it's not aligned? Does it still make it easier from that point? And how does one then go through that process of saying, okay, because obviously you won't go like, okay, this time you can get your way and next time I get my way, like that doesn't work. So how do you then practically sort of use this to make a final decision that everyone is on board with?
That's an interesting question, Francois. I'm trying to think of instances where we've had that conversation and where we then had very firm disagreement. And we haven't had firm disagreement yet. We've had hard conversations. And the way we've dealt with it was to just create space in the conversation for that. And I think the fact that that both of us have a coaching background now, and Mary is obviously a couple of years ahead of me, but it's got to do with communication skills. It's got something to do with of creating space for the other person to be who they are fully as a human being, knowing that we come with all our baggage, all our stuff, all our
because maybe like another sorry.
Everything that makes us human in all our messiness. So we definitely create space for that, and I think we hold the perspective that we try to hold lightly to our own ideas, and also to the idea that we're not necessarily always right. And there's another thing of value that I've learned along the way, and that is, even if we don't agree on something, disagree and commit. Because if there's a business decision that needs to be made, and I don't agree with it, but Mary has a very strong view on that, then by disagreeing and committing to doing the steps that need to take place, the business can move forward and we can evaluate, is it really working or isn't it working? Whereas if you just get stuck in an impasse with disagreement, nothing happens. You can't go forward. So
very, very true. Awesome. So, I'm sorry if I put you on the spot a little bit with that question. It's something that's very interesting, because I think there's so many dynamics that come into a business when you're more than one. If it was just you making the decisions, it's easy. You never get into a fight. So it's nice to have somebody that can have a different viewpoint, and then somebody that can come from a different angle and then sort of make you think about what it is that you want. But I also think sometimes we get so stuck on that we want it our way that we're not able to step back and see the bigger picture. So I think what you've shared now is very, very valuable. So if there are advisors watching this and they are also in business with others, and it's hard. Or even more valuable, you have clients who work with partners and you need to advise them of how to deal with situations like that. I think that was very valuable. I want to talk a little bit about financial coaching, obviously. The big difference between financial planning and financial coaching, where is the big divide? Like what makes coaching different? One, and two, where does it fit in to this entire process? Because it does not replace financial planning. It is something in addition to, or that leads to, or something that complements, in my view. But I'm very keen to hear your sort of view and your definition of what financial coaching is and where it fits in.
Okay. So for us, financial coaching is about helping clients get ready to deal with financial planning. Very often when we have clients, they come to us and they have so many emotional blocks around money that they cannot execute rational decisions around their finances. So they might nod and smile and agree with recommendations, and then they walk out of the door and the implementation never happens. And I think that is something that I picked up in my journey. I had clients who were absolutely fabulous about implementing advice recommendations and planning recommendations. And then other clients who I would see year after year, and we'd have the same conversation over and over again. And the client would sit there and say, yeah, I know I should be doing this. And the stuff never happened. So in a way, coaching gets clients in a position of emotional readiness and enough emotional comfort around money that they can actually face up to their money and their financial planning decisions. Does that answer your question, Francois?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so important to get people ready. It is that because sometimes they just don't see a way out. And the problem with that is also that they then don't go and get the help that they should get. And I think, am I right in sort of assuming that financial coaching is a lot less intimidating than well, at least initially, right? Because I guess part of coaching is this reflection and this internal thing, and you need to face certain little demons that maybe you've been carrying around, and all sorts of amazing things that you need to work through and understand why you do things the way you do it. But I think it's a much better leeway into financial planning, as you said. And I think I rightly agree with you that it is a sort of getting people ready for this whole financial planning journey.
Yeah.
So, Marguerite, just maybe basically like two things I want to talk about before we finish is the one is, how do you go about sort of starting this conversation with someone? Is it because this is completely different from what a financial advisor would normally do? How do you attract clients? Number one, how do they contact you? Do you still go out and actively seek clients from a coaching perspective? How does that part sort of work for your business?
Francois, meeting new clients is a multifocal process. We've got the website, social media. We're quite active on social media at the moment, and what we're trying to do is create thought-provoking content that people can read and see, is this something they resonate with? And then people would contact us, or we would get direct referrals from existing clients. And the initial conversation is normally a free chemistry call during which we chat a bit about what their pain point is, what it is they would want to achieve through a financial coaching journey, and then discussing what the way forward would look like. So there is that initial contact, and then the process. We've got a 6 to 8 meeting process. So the whole thing is actually quite a long, intensive process for our clients, journey for our clients. And during the first couple of sessions, we work on what their goals and objectives are. So it sounds very similar to the FBI 6-step process. But we go really deep. We create space where they can reflect and look at themselves and look at what it is that's scaring them about money. Because I think a lot of the the behavior we see around money that's not helpful is coming from a place of fear. And then we also use psychometric assessments. As the journey unfolds, the clients become more competent. They become practically competent around money as they work through their spending plan, as they realize it's not the scary thing that they should have avoided all their life. It's actually something where they can learn the skills to become competent with their money. Then we start moving into a more planning process. But once again, our focus is not to tell the client what it is they need. Our focus is to create a space where the client can discover what it is they need. And then the planning unfolds naturally from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then just from a like sort of business model perspective, like you said, like this is all like fee only. It's a flat fee sort of process. Are there different options that you offer? Is it just a retainer base, or is it here's the amount, but you can pay it off during the sessions, or you got to pay, like a lump sum? Like how do you make this work for people?
Okay, so obviously our one-on-one coaching is a premium product. We're a multifaceted business. We have a subscription-based community on our website where there's course material that people can work through. There's connection points with us in community calls once a month or once a quarter. So we're trying to price it in such a way that the other thing that Mary and I are passionate about is to make financial coaching and planning as accessible to people as possible. So we have low-cost entry points where people can become part of a community, where they can work through material on their own and then connect with us in a group session. We also have a employee wellness offering that is going well with the group of people that we're doing with. So it's in its second year of being piloted with a company, and the feedback we're getting is phenomenal. To see people grow in their ability to confidently face their money and make competent decisions is really incredibly gratifying. So it's a multifaceted business with community, employee wellness, and then our one-on-one or where we work with couples as well.
Awesome. And there's one thing I want to end off with. It's if there's something, and I would like to get your take on this. If there's one thing that has stood out for me from both you and Mary J, seeing what you're doing, looking at what's in your emails, those kind of things, so that there's a lot of power in words. The vocabulary you guys use, there's some unique. You've got it's amazing actually for me anyway. I'm from the Free State, so I'm amazed easily, but I'm telling you, it's really, really amazing to sort of look at the way that you guys speak. I mean, even I think the WhatsApp you sent me yesterday or the day before, the way you ended it off, or the email, I can't remember now. It's just like, geez, it's just something different. So, I mean, I assume that is on purpose. I mean, you've really thought about the words you use when communicating and signing off emails and doing those kind of things?
Yes, we do. And it's an ongoing journey. I said to Mary the other day, it's only now beginning to feel to me as if I've got the vocabulary to adequately give expression to the stuff that's in our hearts. And it's been an ongoing journey, and it's been a part of that whole process of merging and our businesses and developing how we speak about this stuff. But we are intentional about the way we use words, because, as you say, words are powerful, and they can evoke so many different emotions in clients. They can inspire, they can motivate, they can also create fear. So I think as a financial services industry, we need to really look carefully at the way we use language and what it is that we want our clients to achieve. And for us, we want our clients to experience freedom, which is the opposite of fear.
Yes, absolutely. Marguerite, where can people learn more if they want to know more about what it is that you do? And you guys also offer, I mean, I think you said you did this program that Mary has designed as well. So you also offer training for advisors?
Yes, Mary does do coach training for advisors. That business is currently in a development stage. But you're welcome to reach out to us on LinkedIn. Our website is myjourneytofreedom.com. So looking forward to connecting with you. And the other thing that we've started this past month is a Financial Humans Mastermind group, where if you've got questions about the financial services ecosystem and you want to know what your options are in terms of whether you go into the advice space, the product sales space, the coaching space, the financial planner space, we're just creating space where a group of people from diverse backgrounds can come and sit around a table, have a virtual coffee, and we share what we're up to. We share the challenges, and we look for solutions and ways to help empower people to move forward.
Awesome. Marguerite, thank you. It was awesome chatting to you. Really appreciate it. And the time just flew by. So thank you very much for your time, and well done on the great work that you and Mary Jo are doing. Keep it up, and definitely connect with them on LinkedIn, visit the website, learn more about what it is that they do. And Marguerite, I wish you a fantastic weekend.
Thank you. You too, Francois. Thanks for the opportunity. I love being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks, sir. All right, and just like that, it's the end of another show. My guest next week is Mandy Murphy from Old Mutual Wealth. So really looking forward to talking to her. But until then, just remember, we'll be back same time. Well, I don't know if we'll be back same time, but we'll be back next week. Absolutely. So have a great weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper. And remember to raise the bar. See you. Love you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Remember to check out the live show, PROpulsion Live, on YouTube every Friday at 7 a.m. South African time. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. That's propulsion.co.za/live. And please remember to subscribe, share with your colleagues, your friends, and anyone who may find value like you did in this podcast. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.